Hello and welcome to Todd Talk, where insight meets inspiration. I'm your host, Todd Hiller, and I'm an author, speaker, and longtime community leader, here to guide you on a journey towards fulfillment and balance. In every episode, we'll explore ways to fill life's emptiness, helping you uncover practical tools to create harmony, purpose, and happiness. Whether it's thriving in your career, nurturing personal growth, or simply finding joy in the everyday, Todd Talk is your space for real conversations and actionable advice. So let's thrive together, personally, professionally, and beyond. This is Todd Talk, and I'm thrilled to have you here.
A friend of mine shared a quote with me the other day that really stuck with me. He was visiting a firehouse in New York City, where he recently moved to. And if you're listening to this episode, I miss you very much. The quote was, "You can never train hard enough for a job that can kill you." And it struck a chord with me because of my tenure in the fire service. But I don't think it just belongs on the wall in a firehouse. I think it belongs in our day-to-day life, and it belongs everywhere, maybe on our mirrors for when we wake up in the morning and look at ourselves and make a plan for the day. Firefighting is unforgiving. There's no two ways about it. Complacency has consequences. We don't train because it's, something we think is a great idea to pass the time. It's how we make sure we are prepared to survive when something goes wrong. We have drills. We do repetitions of those drills. We make it muscle memory, and we train until we can do it. You can tie knots with your eyes closed. You can climb ladders without being afraid. You can jump in and out of a window to and from a ladder quickly and efficiently without getting hung up and without trying to figure out what to do one step at a time. Because we as people and we as firefighters don't rise to the occasion, we fall to our level of preparation. And that's the tough truth, is that we don't say, we're going to rise to this occasion. Something's going wrong, so all of a sudden everybody here is magically going to lift themselves up and be fantastic and know exactly what to do. We fall to the level of preparation that we have. And if we are prepared and we know what to do and we have muscle memory and lots of skills to fall back on that are muscle memory, then things can go pretty well. Even when things are going sideways and it's somebody else's worst day, we can be prepared and take things on, take the storm head on, so to speak, and hopefully come out pretty okay on the other side. But, we don't train because we expect a fire. We train because we expect reality. It isn't always a fire, for one. And also, even if it is a fire, things aren't always realistic, or things aren't always realistically simple. Like you see, it has a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3, or it has an A, B, and a C, and we can just kind of check those things off and everybody will be fine. The reality is, even in real life, things go sideways all the time. Things go crazy wrong on a regular Tuesday for the average person who's never been a firefighter ever. And that's why I think that quote is really, really important for people in general and not just in the fire service. And don't get me wrong, it's super important in the fire service, but I think it's really important for everyday life as well. So if that's true in a burning building, what about everywhere else in our world? If the reality of an actual fire is things can go wrong in an instant and there are so many unknown variables, how about real life? I think that's true to a very high extent, and there's a high probability that when things start going wrong, more things will start going wrong before things all of a sudden resolve themselves. And a lot of times the resolution comes because we have to work at it, not because all of a sudden the universe decides, that's enough being difficult for the day, I'm just going to give up. So when it comes to that quote, you have to train, you can't train too hard for a job that could kill you. When it comes to our lives, as tongue-in-cheek and as crass as it sounds, nobody's getting out of here alive, right? Our life is, we're all headed to the same conclusion. And I know that sounds kind of dark, and I don't mean it to be, but we only get one life. There's no practice rounds. There's no reset button. There is no do-over. There's no rewind. This is not like a game, a video game where you can say, I'm going to respawn and start all over again. That doesn't happen. So this principle of being prepared and training and just having this overall sense of being ready and able to take on the day can apply to a lot of things. It can apply to our mental health, our marriage, our relationships, our parenting, our physical health, our career, and our calling to do things more than our career sometimes, and even our character. Your life may not be, quote unquote, on fire, but it's definitely on the clock. We don't get to pause and just say, well, what, give me 6-7 months to figure this out. I did not make that joke on purpose. Don't do the hand movement, anyone listening. 6-7, right? We don't get a boatload of time to pause and say, well, let's take all this time to figure it out, and then we'll hit play and we'll really hit the ground running and enjoy our life. We have to start enjoying it now. We have to start learning and doing and chasing the things that make us happy. And training in the fire service obviously looks like the things we do. We train for all those types of situations. But training in everyday life can look like things like reading, things like scheduling a therapy session, things like diving in and getting, working with a coach or doing coaching sessions, practicing difficult conversations, and the reason we practice those things, the reason we practice difficult conversations is because they are difficult and they're not easy to do. But just like we said we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to our level of preparation. If you are prepared for a difficult conversation, if you are prepared for something to go wrong in a relationship, if you are prepared to tackle difficult things, then you have a much better chance of getting through it quickly, efficiently, and probably with maybe a lot less tears and hand-wringing and, yelling and screaming than if you weren't. And there's so many things this applies to. Investing in your health, learning emotional regulation and how to make sure you are taking a pause and breathing before you react and you are controlling your reactions to things. Building discipline, whether it's working out or being able to run, or building discipline in your life when it comes to not reacting right away or not overreacting, or making sure your parenting style is really what you want it to be. Because, being prepared it's not paranoia, it's respect for how high the stakes are. And I think that's true. Well, I know it's true in the fire service, and I know it's true in regular life, right? Preparation isn't paranoia. Preparation is respect for the stakes, because the stakes in our life are pretty high. We get to do this once, and nobody wants to say at the end of their trip around the world that, well, it was kind of okay. I wish I did some things better. And if you talk to the older people in our world, and I heard this beautiful quote the other day, too, just kind of as an aside, that we've moved from – we used to put like grandparents on a pedestal and go to them for knowledge and wisdom and to talk to them about the things they've lived through and their lived experience. And now they kind of become the butt of a lot of jokes because they're not good with technology, or, they don't know how to do the self-scan at the grocery store. And that really bugs me. There is so much knowledge from the elder community in our world and in our lives that you could learn a whole lot from if you just took the time to talk to them. But maybe that's an episode for another day. But being prepared is having respect for the fact that this is the life you get to live. And you don't want to get to the end of your time on earth and say, well, you know what, I really wish I did all these things differently. And if you talk to elder people and our elders in your community or in your family, I bet they can tell you they probably have a list of things they wish they did. I wish I traveled more. I wish I spent more time with my kids. I wish I didn't work so much. I wish I pursued the things I was passionate about. I wish I tried out this idea. I wish I started that company. I wish I tried to play that instrument. The list is endless. So when it comes to training hard enough for a job that could kill you like the fire department, that quote hits hard there, but it also hits hard in terms of our real life. Read the books you want to read. Prepare your mind to have tough conversations. And I don't just mean difficult conversations like in a relationship if you're having an argument or a fight, but prepare yourself to have difficult conversations that are deep. When people ask you, deep, hard questions, be prepared to answer them with some depth because you've read the books, you've done the research, you've read about things that interest you, you've listened to news reports about current events. I had a conversation not long ago with a very great friend of mine, just a beautiful mind all around, about how important it is to be well read about current events and know what's going on, in terms of government and history and current events in the news. And also, there's somebody I can have super deep conversations with, and it's so wonderful because sometimes the questions they ask really tickle my brain. And it's great because it's not just a question I can give like a 3-word answer to. It's something we can really dig into, and that's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. And it's so cool, right? And I think here's the flip side of this. The danger of undertraining. So we'll do this 2 parts. The danger of undertraining in the fire service is skill fade is real. If you don't practice something, there's lots of perishable skills in the fire service you will forget. If you don't practice tying knots, they will go away. If you don't practice with your SCBA, you will not stay proficient, right? So hesitation costs time in the fire service, and unfortunately, time costs outcomes in the fire service. Sometimes when we wait or we hesitate or we get hung up because we haven't done this one thing for a very long time or haven't practiced, people can get hurt, people can die. the situation can change. It's just not a good thing. But in life, the same is true. Because avoiding hard conversations will weaken your relationships. Ignoring things like burnout compounds your stress and makes your life more difficult to lead and makes you just that much bigger of a ball of stress. Neglecting your health catches up with you. I know it's fantastic. When we were all 18 and 25 years old, our metabolism was through the roof. We could eat whatever we wanted, and we never had to exercise. Things were great. We could eat, drink, and party and be merry, and all of a sudden we didn't gain any weight. And now, fast forward, when we're adults, that's not necessarily the case. And I say that a little bit jokingly, but other things also compound and add up when it comes to our health. If you neglect your health, your vision, your hearing, your weight, your cardiovascular health, all those kind of things, they're going to pile up. And neglecting those things will catch up with you and bite you, and it's not a good thing at all. And putting off growth, it kind of calcifies mediocrity. If you just say, well, I graduated high school or I graduated college, and that's kind of all I ever wanted to do. I don't want to read. I don't want to do this. I don't want to understand new things. I don't want to chase new concepts. I mean, that's okay if that's what you want to do. But please, please, please think about how much that might intensify your regret by the time you get to be 80, 90 years old. Because I think even in the moment, if we say, well, I'm super stressed out, I don't have time to learn a new skill, that's okay. Sometimes we get overwhelmed and we have lots of things going on. But as an overall theme in your life, make sure the underlying tone is one where you can approach and accept things like growth and challenging things to read and challenging conversations to have and learning new skills and learning new things, trying new foods, maybe learning a new language, all those kinds of things. Because, I think I have a whole episode about regret, and I have a lot of feelings and a lot of things to say about regret based on some really difficult situations in my life and some circumstances that I walked through, specifically with the death of a loved one. But you can drift into regret faster than you can drift into greatness. You can all of a sudden kind of drift your way over to regret and look back and say, you know what, the last 10 years of my life, I've done nothing of merit. I've done nothing that has made me smile. I've done nothing that I actually said I wanted to do 10 and a half years ago. And you can kind of just drift there. But the same drifting doesn't necessarily happen with greatness or with being someone who feels like you are really fulfilling the things that make you feel happy and fulfilled and well and accomplished. And this is not a way to say that everybody needs to chase, an MBA and a doctorate. Please don't misunderstand me. I don't mean that at all. This will look different for everybody listening and everybody on earth, because everybody's definition of success and happiness and personal wellness is different, and that is perfectly okay. But don't neglect the things in your life that will all of a sudden catch up with you, and you'll turn around and look back and say, I really wish I had done X, Y, and Z. I wish I did those things, because we can't go backwards. Now, my caveat to that is if you do look back and say, well, I wish I did X, Y, and Z over the past 5 years, 10 years, or whatever, I'm here to also tell you and encourage you to remember it's not too late to start. It is never too late to start chasing your dreams and doing the things that make you feel happy and fulfilled and like you're just crushing it and making yourself really happy. And again, you don't need to compare yourself to anybody else. You don't have to say, oh, well, am I really crushing it because like so-and-so's doing all these things and I haven't done any of that. That is not what I mean. When I say crushing it, I mean when you wake up in the morning, are you excited to wake up? Are you happy when you wake up in the morning? Do you feel satisfied when you go to bed? Do you feel like you had a good day and a productive day and like you led a life that you wanted to lead? And that's really the goal. And, training, quote unquote, in the fire service, I could go on and on, right? But this episode's not actually about the fire service. Training in real life is practical, okay? Make it practical. This is where, again, I remind you, do not compare yourself to others. Remember, comparison is the thief of joy, right? You need to just compare yourself to you yesterday. But when in real life, training can look like, emotional reps, okay, or repetition, practicing honesty, practicing boundaries, those things in your life that you say, you know what, this one time I was super honest and truthful with this group of people, and I said, no, thank you, I don't want to do that. I set this boundary in place, and I felt really great having the time to spend at home with my family instead of running out and doing everybody else's bidding at X, Y, and Z event. Awesome. Do that more often. Do it again, right? So that's kind of an emotional rep. You can also do mental reps, reading, journaling, reflecting. Use your brain. And you don't have to study something that you have no interest in. Don't think, well, I should learn Latin because that's the language of smart people. That's silly. If you want to learn Latin, awesome. If you don't, read books that interest you. You can read books about putting back anything under the sun. If it interests you and it builds your mental capacity and it is a way to train your brain, go ahead and read it. It can be magazines about fixing cars or rebuilding motors. It can be health magazines. It can be books on skincare. It can be books on God and about how to become more spiritual. It can be books on meditation, on cardiovascular fitness. It can be fiction books that you just really want to read more of to say you have a wider array of reading knowledge and different books that you've read to start conversations with other people about reading. It can be things about the Civil War, the Great Chicago Fire, there's so many things, right? But reading and journaling and reflecting is a way to do some mental repetitions with your brain to kind of build that stuff up and build up that capacity you have to just feel like you are, quote unquote, training for everyday life. We can also do physical repetitions, right? Moving your body, taking care of the only one you get. How about that for a big candle on top of the cake? We only get one life. That's 100% true, but we only get one body too. We can't just say, no, I want a 20-year-old body again when we get to be 40. We can't do that. You only get one body, so take care of it really well. I have a friend of mine who takes fantastic care of his vehicles. Like if his vehicle's 10 years old, you can still eat off the floor and off the top of the motor. And a long time ago, he and I had a conversation about that, and it just makes him happy to do that. He feels accomplished when his vehicles are that clean and that well taken care of. And at the time, I was working with a person who really wasn't taking care of themselves at all. And I said, how sad is it that this person, really admires this other friend that we both have for how well he takes care of his car, and he doesn't see the irony that he doesn't even care about the one body he's been given and the only one he's going to get when it comes to eating well and not smoking and not drinking, to excess all the time. There's so many little things we can do to make ourselves physically well also. And you don't have to become, somebody who goes to the gym 7 days a week, but if you are moving your body and exercising your body more today than you did yesterday, that's an accomplishment. And you can keep doing that and build on that and use that same repetition to keep building up skills. And these repetitions come with lots of stuff too, spiritual or philosophical reps, clarifying what matters. Sit in the quiet one day. Sit in the silence with just yourself and just your thoughts and start thinking about what really matters. And which way do you drift? Do you drift to talking to God? Do you drift to something like prayer? Do you drift to something like meditation where you just want to sit and focus on your breathing? Do you drift to being thankful for things, being thankful for the family you have or the life you've created? That can be a way to really deepen your spiritual connection either to God or to yourself and your philosophical look at what your life looks like. And these can all tie together too, right? You can read books about this kind of stuff that's making you feel better spiritually or philosophically. You can read books about things that you are working on physically with moving your body or exercise. You can read books about your emotion and how to maybe practice those difficult conversations or set some boundaries or have healthier habits. You can read about those and compound all these practical things all together, which is really, really cool. And, I think there's also a courage rep that you can do, right? Do one thing every day that's a little bit uncomfortable. And again, I have a whole podcast episode about something that makes you uncomfortable versus outside your comfort zone. I don't want you to do something that makes you feel scared in the true fear sense, when it comes to other people or feeling you are in danger or you are not going to be taken care of or something is going to happen to you. That is not what I mean at all. But doing one uncomfortable thing per day. Maybe it's reading something that's super challenging. Maybe it's having a conversation with someone in a different language that you used to take in school. I did this when I was in the Dominican Republic with my family. The resort we stayed at, I went to this coffee shop every morning. It was such good coffee. But I asked the ladies there that worked behind the counter to please only speak to me in Spanish because I took Spanish in high school and I was okay at it, but I haven't spoken it really since. And so when they did that, it was so uncomfortable because at first when they greeted me, I'm like, well, I told them to do this, but I'm like, I don't want to mess up my order. I don't want to say something offensive. I don't want to use the wrong word and have them laugh at me. But in the end, it was so much fun to do, and I felt so accomplished because by the end of the week, I would go in and order my coffee and have a conversation with them. I mean, a basic conversation, all in Spanish, and it was just really, really cool. And you can do this kind of, thing that makes you step outside your comfort zone. Do one of those things per day. Maybe it's saying, I'm going to try this new workout regime, and I think it's really going to push me to my limits, and I'm going to be super tired or super sore the next day, but I'm going to go for it. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation that you've been avoiding with somebody because you're like, oh, this is going to be such an uncomfortable conversation, but, maybe try it. Do it. And doing those things, doing those repetitions of things like that will make them, one, easier to do, and it will also help you be better at that one thing you are practicing at that current time. And because, guys, if the stakes are high, which they are definitely high in life, the preparation should be too. Right? The preparation should match the stakes. And there is no two ways about it. We only get one life. We're not getting out alive. This should be a life that you really, truly enjoy. And I know bad days happen. I know things are tough. I know there are days that we want to go to bed and say we want to skip today because it was so terrible. I fully recognize that hardships happen and heartache happens and difficult days happen and death happens and relationships end and all those things. Those are important too. But I want you to remember when it comes to the quote-unquote training of our life, I want to encourage you to view it as urgency without anxiety, okay? I don't want you to say, oh my God, I'm not doing enough every day. I'm living in fear, because I'm so scared that I'm not going to do enough before I die and it's never going to add up to be enough. I don't want to do that. This is not about being anxious or creating anxiety, right? It's about living intentionally. Right? Training hard, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all those things I just listed, all those different kinds of reps. I don't want you to do it to the extent that you are living stressed or you are being obsessive or you are just grinding out 24/7. Like, I got to read 15 books this month. I got to get going. Every other day I need to start a new book. Because that does the opposite and has the opposite effect. That creates more stress. That brings you to a point where I'm working so hard trying to quote unquote better myself that I hate my life because I'm spending all this time doing things I really don't want to do and I feel overwhelmed. So make sure you remember this is urgency without anxiety, okay? This is making sure we're doing the things that are doing us good and doing good for our brains and our bodies and our souls and all that kind of stuff without pushing us over the limit of being so stressed that we don't know which way to turn, okay? It means, you can respect your potential. Respecting your potential means, hey, I have the potential to do X, Y, and Z. I know I can do it. I've done it before. I'm pretty good at it. I want to start doing it again. Go ahead. Start doing it again. Do not cross out everything else on your calendar and say, I will not rest until I do this 10 more times or I accomplish these 10 things that I know I can do, right? This is about honoring your calling, not being so obsessive that you get so stressed and angry and burned out that you don't feel like doing anything anymore. We don't want to swing too far the opposite way. And really, at the end of the day, I think this is just about taking our lives seriously, right? And when I say that, please remember, having fun is definitely a way of taking your life seriously. I try to laugh and smile every day. I try to find little things to make me smile and little things to cheer me up throughout the day, even if it's a bad day, right? Because the point isn't to panic. The point is to prepare. The point is to be living in a way that we are prepared for the things to go wrong and go sideways when they go sideways and get through them. But also the point is also to enjoy the things that are right in front of us that we have going on. And it's a balance, right? I want you to enjoy your life and enjoy the quiet and enjoy the slow and the days you have to be mellow and just hang out and say, you know what, don't have to do anything today. Awesome. Those are a huge part of bettering your soul and your personal wellness because everybody needs a chance to slow down and rest. And then when you pick back up and you say, hey, you know what, I've always wanted to do X, Y, and Z, go ahead and try it. Because at the end of the day, and like I said, when you're 98 years old sitting there talking to your great-grandkids, you don't want to say, guys, I wish I did this more, or I wish I did this more, or I gave up on this way too soon. I tried this for 3 months and it didn't work out. And I dreamt about it for the next 40 years after that. I wish I went back to it and tried a little more. So that's what it's about, right? It's about being prepared and living intentionally and taking our lives seriously. So if there's something in your life you feel quote unquote undertrained for, maybe take a walk towards it and figure out how you can prepare a little better. And to find out this, ask yourself this question, where in my life am I hoping things, quote unquote, just work out? Where am I hoping that things are just going to magically fall into place? And if you have a definite and definitive answer for that, go ahead and take a walk and explore those things, and maybe explore ways you can train and prepare to get through them a little bit better rather than just hoping the universe solves them for you. And ask yourself also, hey, listen, this is the only life I get. Do I feel like I am preparing for what matters? Do I feel like I am honoring the fact that this is the only life and the only body I have, So that original quote said, you can't train hard enough for a job that can kill you. And I think on top of that, you can't prepare too much for a life that can slip away if you're not careful. Okay? So this week, let's do some things. Do one thing that you feel strengthens you, right? One rep, one drill, one difficult conversation, one step towards what you've always dreamt of becoming or what you've always dreamt of doing. And when you do that, and when you dive into that and kind of dip your toe into those waters and it feels really good, go ahead and take a little bit longer swim. Okay? Because all the things that we love doing and all the things that we want to feel that will help us feel happy and accomplished, I don't think most of us spend enough time on those. So make sure you're giving yourself permission to do that whenever you have time. My friends, thank you so much for allowing me to be in your ears with this episode and for listening along. If this resonated with you and you think someone else in your life might need to hear it, please go ahead and share it. Thanks for following along on this journey. If you don't already, please follow, like, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes. You can also come find me on social media. I am Todd W. Hiller on TikTok and Instagram, and we're going to do our best to keep on pushing out content for you guys to help you feel balanced and better about your day-to-day life and just overall give you guys a little slice of happiness throughout the course of what might be an otherwise busy day or week. Be well, my friends, wherever you are in this world. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time more than I can say. Be well. Thanks for tuning in to Todd Talk. If you've liked what you've heard, please go ahead and subscribe and follow along so you don't miss any updates or new episodes. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your day.